Hey, what is up? What is up, YouTube gaming family? It is K-Rod here. I got another video for y'all today, in which I'm going to give you guys some little, nightly commentary. And before I do that, shout out to MK Rio, or also known as Rio underscore MK. Very good MK YouTuber, just watching some good gameplay between him and Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the scorpion to your left, and Rio is the reptile player to your right. I'm pretty sure for those of you that are probably wanting to get my take on MK Legacy Collection, I will give you guys my take on it. I'll probably just like I'll probably run some MK Legacy Collection gameplay. Probably do like somebody else's live stream and just give you guys like a shout out. Well, yeah, just give a shout out, to that channel for you guys to subscribe. But yeah, definitely subscribe to Rio MK, or MK Rio. He's a really good, YouTuber, very good competitive Mortal Kombat player, and I like watching him. Like I like watching him like a lot, and he's really good at what he does. So, yeah, I will talk about MK Legacy Collection. I'm probably gonna just bang out this one video that came up to my mind to talk about something that's pretty important within the, like life, how should I say, life scene where people, get into, life stuff in terms of just work, life, or anything philosophical. So for this video, I'm going to be explaining about, the whole issue with, job employers, in the U.S. Like, why do employers underpay workers, and why do employers give you such a hard time to set up job interviews when you're trying to go for like good high paying jobs, or just or let's just say jobs in general that you're just trying to get, but employers want to be dickheads, or they want to be idiots to like make it harder for you to, you know basically set up at the interview process to getting hired. So I'm gonna give you guys my whole take on this because a lot of people in the U.S. like how should I say, they like to be politically ignorant and use some narcissistic attitude to say like, oh well, it's the capitalist class, blah blah blah, all this BS nonsense, which that has nothing to do with like how employers look at you with like your job resume and how they come about liking your profile. But then on top of that, when it comes to them trying to work with you on your time, and you like how should I say, you can make time to be worked with a employer to get to a job opportunity for a interview, but the problem is the factoring of you working a job that you have to bring up to the employer to say that, hey, look, I have a job myself, and knowing your availability, this is going to be hard for me to get to there and then get back to my actual job to get to work. So, personally, with me, I'm going to give you guys just like my whole take on how I feel, like about this. And I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from. But before I do that, be sure to hit the like button, share the video around, do what y'all gotta do. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry that I didn't skip that. Yeah, do what y'all gotta do, and let's get right to it. So, yeah. Um. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Man, I'm already getting tired. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. So, yeah, yeah. I definitely like apologize because I had like a pretty long day at work. I wasn't able to get sleep for like 2 hours or so because I forgot to take my medicine to put me to sleep like the night before. So I'm kind of feeling doozy. So be sure to enjoy my little chilled out commentary. So yeah, let's get right back into it. So here's the problem with a lot of U.S. job employers, and I'm pretty sure this is probably like a global thing worldwide. But I'll give you guys my point of view, especially within the Western world, when you're trying to, obviously start out, get your life together, get your income, to be started. there will always be a point in time where employers will not work with you. You need to work with them. And this is not to even say that job employers like cannot be entitled to say that, but the problem is that not every day is going to be a day where you have free time to get to where you need to be. So, to a particular degree, if like obviously this is my personal opinion on how I see things, but objectively speaking, this is how I view like the whole concept of like how to properly analyze the particular means of how should I say looking at certain information in terms of like how employers view certain applicants or how they even treat them. But it's not always like a 1-to-1 match. Hold on, I'm actually gonna switch it out to a different channel. I'm actually gonna go to a different channel and cover different commentary. Hold on, I'm gonna go over to Do Gaming's page. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Yeah, so I was gonna go over to a different channel, but wasn't able to kind of see like the the live stream to be active. So I was gonna go over to Do's page, but I'll do that. I'll do that like if he ever goes live, soon. But yeah, let's get right back into it. So here's my whole take on this. A lot of people don't really understand this, but whenever you're looking for like a good job, or let's just say like a job to start out, it's usually like the standard process of trying to get the first impressions with a employer. And the thing is that in my honest like opinion, a employer that wants to quote unquote see you in person for a job interview is most likely not going to quote unquote hire you on the spot for that opportunity. Granted, some people may say, well, you have to look at it on the bright side. You have to go out to job interviews in person so you can present yourself to the employer that can meet their needs of who they're wanting to hire for. And the problem with this argumentation that I hear from some people that do say that is that that is not always to be the case. Not everybody has a lot of time on their hands to get to a job interview. And it does not signify anything better with that employer to say that, oh wow, this candidate really wants to work here because he or she took the time out of their own day, where even if they are having to work and they have to get to their job and then make it over to their job, it's like, you know how does that help the person trying to make it over to that job, like interview, or actually just making it easier for them because they have to sacrifice their time and effort and money just to get over to that job or to that site just to talk with you, that the job interviewer or the company, manager, whoever is particularly running running the operations just to give you the opportunity. It's not fair to the applicant that's having to waste time, and you don't know when that opportunity could be granted to you as the job candidate, because it's like it's not a guarantee. And it's like, to me personally, I think like the best tip of it, like like I should say, of advice that I would give to like any young person, especially like if I could go back in time and tell myself how I should have looked for jobs when I was starting out, because I'll tell you guys like some of what the very few jobs that I've had. I've had some really. Oh wait, hold on. Let me pause. Or hold on. Yeah, yeah. Like I'll just skip that. Sorry. So yeah. Um. Oh wait, hold on. Let's see. Where's my little thing? All right, hold on. Let me pause. Hold on. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, here's my whole thing with like how employers, usually operate. The whole deal is that when you go to any job interview, for the most part, employers expect you to be on their time. And my whole contention is that the job interview is not going to signify you getting the job, and the employer is not there for your time. They're there to basically treat anybody else like a number to see who they can quote unquote hire to their, to their bias particular standards. And it's not to say it's not always like that, because some other employers will try to be open minded with you and they'll try to give you the opportunity to try to basically express, where you're coming from. And usually, for the most part, I will say job interviews are not always a one to one match, because every company will always operate in a different manner. Because, some people will say job interviews are not even about the job itself. Sometimes employers will just ask you questions out of nowhere to ask you, oh man, how should I kind of break this down? Some people will try to ask you like the dumbest questions ever, but they're trying to see like where your mindset is at as a person, because they're trying to get the personality out of a person that they want to hire. So let's just say, it's like some piece of shit company, like, I don't know, like Spectrum or whoever. A lot of people claim to say that they don't like Spectrum. I've never worked there, but I've heard rumors of other people that have worked there that I personally know. And some people say Spectrum is a really trash, company. But why is it like that? Is it because Spectrum, they don't choose to hire people from the ground up and actually work a proper culture of hardworking people to keep the best workers on the to keep the best workers in the company, and then fire the crappier workers that don't choose to actually perform well throughout the company? And I think to a certain degree, Spectrum probably has a double standard where they just kind of pick and choose whoever they want to hire, and then they end up firing, some really good prominent workers, and then they end up keeping, a lot of less competent or very high risky incompetent workers, where people don't really go out of their way, quote unquote, doing their job properly for you. And granted, I've been through certain calls where, if I'm trying to wait on somebody giving me particular assistance, they'll just go out of their way trying to, be very, how should I say, distinctively, disingenuous, and they're not really going to help you all the way through. And granted, I will say for my own particular role, as far as what I currently do, I do have my little skills within cybersecurity, and I do a little bit of call center for full time, in which I don't particularly disclose, what I actually do. That's all confidential on my end, because I got the CIA, cybersecurity fundamentals, planted, inside inside my blood DNA. So yeah, the thing is when you're going for any job, the whole standard is that you need to you need to start prioritizing yourself as your own boss, and you need to start negotiating correctly with employers that do reach out to you for job opportunities. I'm not saying go for any low level job. There are certain jobs out there where, yeah, some people may have to take the short end of the stick, and they might have to do some really low end jobs just to get money. And I get that part. But if you can find a better job to leave, then go for it. There's always great opportunities out there. And my whole philosophy for that is that if you're working at a job that you don't like, especially a company like Spectrum, and let's just say Spectrum, they don't choose the right employees, and let's just say you're trying to do your best, you're trying to get yourself to a level of which you want to get paid higher, and you want to, be better than everybody else, and you want to live a really good income base career where you're breaking past, I don't know, 50,000, maybe close to 70,000 or higher, or maybe close to 100K, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people would want to do that. Yeah, the problem is simply due to lack of opportunity, and not a lot of how should I say, internal training from companies to build their employees to those higher level jobs. So it's always about companies being so greedy, trying to use this whole corporatist mindset, which is, anti-free market within nature, to kind of hire people based on the quote unquote experience model. And the whole thing is that there's not a lot of people within certain job fields that have that, experience that an employer is looking for. And that pool of competition, depending on the job that you're going for, does not offer you anything better. Hold on, let me pause the video and I'm gonna go to Do Gaming TV. All right, I'm back. So yeah, definitely shout out to Do Gaming TV or Do Gaming Z. He's live right now, so I'm going to be watching him for the time being and cover these good commentary videos. So yeah, switch over to him. Please go subscribe to him if you guys haven't. So yeah, here's the whole thing. Employers have a very distinctive means to hire people based on their own preference. And the whole deal is that any employer that's out there that's wanting to hire people based on their own preference will have a bias in who they're going to select. And therefore, you have to kind of compete with other people in terms of if you want to get up to that higher level position job within your company that is very difficult, that has a very strong corporate ladder, you have to kind of like wait in line like everybody else, which usually ends up screwing you over because some people are going to be very like incredulous to kind of get those like little, how should I say, those buddies that will help them grow within the company faster. And therefore, they're going to basically, work in cahoots with each other to kind of like help each other get the opportunities quicker because everybody knows each other through corrupted networking. Versus like if it was like through a merited system where if you work harder than everybody else, you should get the next role because you did everything correctly in your job, and therefore that opportunity should be granted to you because you earned it. And usually, for the most part, in the U.S., you don't really ever get something like that because you're always limited to so many opportunities, and not every business, especially at a gigantic or medium-sized level, will give you that opportunity to grow. And I've always wanted to kind of make like another video to discuss like about, is it really hard to make a business in America to be your own boss and create your own experience in what you want to entrepreneurially create in order to put yourself out there in the market? Because I think that's always something that not a lot of people really talk about, to kind of explain like how difficult it is to really start a company. Because obviously working for another company may seem easy to you on paper, but in terms of like you trying to work for a business and to get yourself out there to build your own career, that's the bigger challenge. Like for me, like I wouldn't say that I kind of go through like all the craziest particular challenges, but I will say like for what I'm currently going through within IT industry, some people say it's a very hard industry to get into. Depending on what type of job that you want, because everybody's trying to like harp about cybersecurity being so difficult because you need a degree and all this nonsense, and I disagree. I think the IT industry is very huge with hiring people with little to no experience for IT, and I think the best way to start out is to start out in IT help desk, and then once you get that experience, then look into getting more certificates to kind of build your way in. Like, a lot of people like to say you should go for your CompTIA Security Plus. You could go for that. I personally think it's better to kind of like wait on that last. Just go for like little good project-based, certificate programs. Like, I'll kind of use, for example, what the Google IT Support Certificate. Get your Google Cybersecurity Professional Certificate through Coursera. The reason why that I say that is simply because if you want to just have a foundation with your portfolio, it would be good to go for those certificate programs to kind of just get your foot in the door. And then also the good thing is that the Google Cybersecurity certificate program also offers a discounted deal for you to take the CompTIA Security Plus exam, and I believe it's like 30% off, or I think it's close to 50%. So that's a pretty good deal if you want to do something like that. But let me just be honest with you, like when it comes to the CompTIA Security Plus certificate, a lot of people that claim to say, "Oh yeah, man, that that certificate's gonna get you like a job, man. You need to have that, like if any company wants to hire you." That's not true. There's plenty of many employers out there that claim to say you need to have that you need to have the security plus, and there's a lot of people on multiple subreddits saying that they can't find a job while having the security plus, and companies say that you need to have it, but then as soon as they get interviewed, they don't get selected. So it's like the thing is like for me, that's just a plus on your resume, but it doesn't give you a portfolio to kind of utilize all your skills and all your knowledge of what you have done to kind of showcase what you have been doing. So I would say personally with me, if you're ever looking for any job, especially within a high level field like IT, it's always better to kind of go for more with certificates that kind of give you more variety to create your own projects, and then you save them, and then you can kind of do stuff like that, or get into subscription based programs like, let's just say, online on the internet, like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box or Cybrary.com, or maybe let's defend.io. I'll be getting into those very soon. I was gonna get subscribed to like Code with Mosh. I was gonna do Josh Matacor's IT help desk course to kind of like get my foot in the door for that. I do have like my minimal experience within cybersecurity with vulnerability management um, analysis, and I wanted to particularly do that course through his course careers certificate program, just to kind of like have something behind me, but also get involved within his I guess like quote unquote internship based community to kind of like build my portfolio better and try to get everything set up like a lot easier. So either way, my whole take is that when you're looking for a job within the US, don't settle for less. Don't settle for a job that you claim to say that, this is like the only way. I have no other means to kind of get to where I need to be. And therefore, if I can't do it, then I don't think there's any reason for anything else to be successful, because you're so less motivated to kind of do what you need to do. And granted, some people have complained about getting to their careers. Like, I don't blame people for saying that when they claim to say, like, let's just say they worked as a you know administrative executive like assistant after they had graduated college and went through all this crazy nonsense of you going to school, being in debt, but then you're working for this corporate chain company where they're only paying you like $45,000 per year, but you're living in an area, I don't know, let's just say over in Boston, Massachusetts, and you're getting taxed like real crazy over there, but you can't really afford anything over there except for like a really decent like apartment. But you're kind of working for this corporate chain for like the past like 3 to 4 years after graduating school, and you don't really know how else you can really improve like your wealth, because it's like you're trying to apply everywhere, you're trying to get yourself out there so employers can see that you have experience, but then they end up passing by your your application, or not wanting to select you, or ghosting you out, because they make this weird excuse to say that, oh well, let me just go out of like my way as as like the dumb employer, to be like, well, let me just select somebody that I feel that looks to be correct on what I'm looking for. But they're not really going off of objective fundamentals of who they're wanting to select. They're going off of people based off of who could be the right candidate, and they're not really caring, because all their qualifications that they're saying that they're looking for You don't have to meet all those, qualifications. If you meet key supporting factors as far as hitting some of those qualifications, and then those employers that do look for the right candidate end up reaching out to you, your opportunities will be endless because you will always be right there at the top particular percentile. Now, granted, there's always instances where people have experience and then they don't get hired at all because employers don't even give you the opportunity to kind of like express yourself to even be selected for a job interview, or they just don't even care because it's like, oh well, this guy, he has so much experience, but not land. Yeah, I'm just basically kind of like spitballing like the drama. Like there will be instances where people within crappy companies will be like, "Oh, hey man, by the way, that one applicant, Benny, he was like a really good, like he was like a very good candidate that could have been hired for a job interview, but how should I say, our company ended up taking up Tom, who's friends with Bob and Billy, at company A, and therefore, they selected him because, they're good friends, and even though, you know, I don't know, even though, uh, I don't know who, oh man, I totally forgot who I said. Basically, I'm using the particular like argumentation to say like that companies will create a conflict of interest to hire people that they want to hire based off of bias, corrupted networking that other employees within the company will vouch for. And that does happen. Like there are people that kind of like coincide with each other to say, "Hey Bob and Billy that are like the top, executive managers through the company. How about you hire like your homie or hire like your friend Jimmy over here, even though Jimmy does not meet all the qualifications, but he has his degree and he has his experience working as the executive, assistant working for other companies. But the thing with Jimmy is that Jimmy's not a competent worker and he's just kind of going in and out of jobs to kind of go in for the money, but then he ends up kind of going his own path, but he's not really reliable and he's not really the best worker. So that's not really hiring Jimmy based off of merit versus like, let's just say with like a different candidate like Donald. If Donald has all the qualifications or he meets like the qualifications or the key qualifications in terms of showcasing that he knows what he's doing for this job and he knows that he's very committed to actually being successful in this particular company, and he's demonstrating to you that he really does want to work for this particular company, and he's explaining to himself why he stands out better compared to other applicants, then Donald should most likely be hired, because the thing is that he's expressing his interest to the company of why he really wants to work for the company, versus with Jimmy that's probably like friends with like other people within the company, or let's just say some family member knows, that the owner of that company or whoever. Like there's always people like that within every corrupted business, like, in America, or especially within the Western world, where you think that you should get hired, but then you end up not getting hired because businesses are going out of their way, or employers are going out of their way, being disingenuous to hire the worst people on the job. And the people that are actually good, that actually do want to get their skills up and actually get their money up higher, they're getting screwed over. So, I mean, like, I've always kind of argued to say that I think, like apprenticeships should come back to nations like the US and other parts of the Western world, because if you do think about it, you should not have to go through a job interview just to get a good job. I mean, granted, that may sound a little bit anti-capitalist with like what I'm saying, because like that could be socialist in nature, but just hear me out, because I'm definitely not talking like that. I'm just spitballing my own particular ideas on how businesses should hire. I think it should be very simplistic. Like, If I want to become a computer, security engineer for cybersecurity, and let's just say there are many businesses out there that can easily hire me to get me paid up to, like, let's just say 55,000 per year. Like, kind of think of it like what like electricians go through when they start out, actually learning how to become a electrician. You don't have to go to school for that, but there are many companies out there that start people out with a apprenticeship program, and they have to go through this program and actually do well in it. And if they do well in it, then guess what? They're going to be making a lot of good money starting out. Now, when they do that, they have to end up, putting themselves. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize that Dew did not finish his live, or he stopped it. All right, hold on. I'm going to pause. All right, I'm back. So yeah, basically what I was trying to say is that with any apprenticeship program, especially like the most common ones that you do see, like when you start out becoming a electrician, electricians usually for the most part in the US, and I think the UK might have it too, but I'm not too sure if their regulations are that stricter over there to become a electrician if they have like apprenticeship programs. So I'm not going to really comment too much on the UK, but I do know for the US there are like electrician union based companies that do offer programs for you to like kind of work your way up to become a, like an actual full-time licensed contractor, like electrician. And what you can do is, like, when you go through the apprenticeship program in New York, um I know for at least in New York and other states, like it just like really depends on what you want to do, because like I'm pretty sure electricians for the most part really work on a lot of commercial based buildings to kind of like, wire, like a lot of, a lot of electrical outlets for a lot of buildings or housing developments. And it just really depends on like what they're really doing. But then again, electricians do go through like the hard labor of like trying to like wire the cording over from, a certain power grid line over to a housing development. But the thing is like apprenticeships within that particular market focus really hard on training the individual to know what to do in their role. And then on top of that, they're getting paid too. So as they're getting paid and as they're getting to that level of which they know what they need to do in terms of learning the job, they are also building that experience as they're getting older. So let's just say if you get like some young kid at like 17 years old to train him to become a good electrician, the odds of getting a good kid at that level to become a good electrician are much higher for that child to grow and actually become a more reliable technician. Well, a more reliable electrician to know their job and actually be good at what they desire to do. And if that was a lot easier within every, like, how should I say, every market industry within the US where companies didn't have to hire you and actually struggle to find candidates, then, the job market would be so easy. And I mean, in my mind, that's how it should be. But no, you have to work your butt off and actually hope that some employer can reach out to you. And then when they do, it's basically like a very Wild West situation of you got to make like the call of, okay, this employer is offering good money, but they're being really stupid to me in terms of not giving me a proper time frame date to set up a good job interview time frame. So therefore, they make it harder for you to say, okay, well, I can only work on such and such time frame unless you can work with our time frame. And if you don't like it, then we end up finding somebody else. And I just find that shit to be so stupid, man. Like, if you're going to hire anybody on to a particular company, it needs to have some sort of transparency to say that if you're gonna ever offer somebody any job interview, you need to work with candidates that are trying to get into your company, because not everybody is going to have the availability or the transportation to get to a job that might not be as convenient as of, due to the time frame of trying to get to the job, and then you have to get to your own job, due to the time conflicts, and that's not always going to be there. Like, granted, some people that may do have enough time on their hands using a car to get there, they can do it, but the problem is that you're still having to waste the time, the effort, the gas. It would be better to set up a time frame where you can do it virtually or do it by phone. If you could do it video or by phone, and it doesn't have to hurt you as much. But the problem is like so many companies like to be so hard on you to say, "Oh, well, you need you need to work on our own time. And if you don't like it, then we'll just move on." Like, just shit like that is like so stupid and so disingenuous. And I mean, I haven't had jobs like that. Well, actually no, I had one potential job opportunity, which I'm not gonna name what the company name, but it was for like a good opportunity. And I literally told one of the coordinators that I just needed like a certain time frame day to get the interview done, because I got selected for the second interview. And I just told the particular individual that was setting up the interview, "Hey, can you set it up for this day if that's to be possible?" And this idiot went out of her way of trying to say that, "Oh, well, we'll get it set up for that day." And then as soon as that was going to happen, I end up being told that they looked for other candidates, knowing that I was trying to get it set up on a day that could work for my own time. So, I found that to be very disingenuous and very idiotic, to the point where, you know, to anybody that can understand where I'm coming from, no company should be telling you that they should be working on their own time for them to give you the job opportunity interview, and they should be working on your time, because the fact that some employers will do that to you, and I used to fall victim to that when I'm trying to get a good job opportunity. They like to be very disingenuous to you to say that, "Oh, well, we'd like to definitely hire you, Kiernan or whoever, but the thing is just that we need to definitely see what's our proper time frame for us to get you in for a job interview." And I think honestly, for the most part, job interviews should really not even, like to me personally, I rather prefer virtual job interviews or phone interviews, if that could be easier, because going in person, that's just a waste of time. Like, nobody doesn't want to waste their time and money while they have to go to work Monday to Friday, which I'm going to talk about 4-day work weeks and 5-day work weeks. I'm definitely going to debate about that. I'm definitely going to give you guys my whole take on that. But my whole take is that you should never listen or ever even fall into the trap of what businesses want you to do for them, when they can't really adjudicate for your own time, availability, when you have to go to work and basically deal with the nonsense of you prioritizing, your time and money to go out and get everything done, just for one job interview. So I think personally with me, man, don't settle for less, and always be and always be very proactive with trying to probe with employers to say, "Hey, I have such and such issue where I have a transportation issue by taking the bus, and I can't make it to these particular time frames that could be available. Could it be possible that I can get this scheduled, through virtual interview or possibly through phone?" Like, I mean, stuff like that could easily do a lot better, but like to me personally, like I just think that's just like the better way, like better way for doing that. Now, granted, you know some employers will never work with you. They like to be very hard headed to try to like make things harder for you. So I say, you know, f them at the at the end of the day, because they're the ones trying to be desperate looking for candidates, and you know you're valuable to them. They're not valuable to you. So you know you bring value to them. So yeah, either way, that's pretty much what I have to say. I mean, for the most part, in the U.S., the reason why so many jobs are so terrible with being underpaid, which I'm not gonna get into it, you know, all the way through, but part of it is a minimum wage issue, and the second issue behind that is a lot of companies trying to undercut labor for the least amount of work, but for the most decent least like amount of pay. And it's not always to say every company is to be like that, but if you take a look at what businesses go off of within their models, is that with a lot of U.S. corporates, like government regulation that plays into the favor of big corporations, especially like companies like McDonald's or I don't know, Price Chopper. I mean, you have Walmart. You have all these big companies that I can just keep on going for days. The reason why they're able to do what they do with the minimum wage that is sustaining is simply because there are subsidies that keeps their businesses, like afloat. And those subsidies can basically safeguard them in terms of where they can go in spending their money. And if businesses are able to be taxed more, then the amount of money that they're having to redistribute back to the state will end up benefiting them for tax benefits in terms of how much that they're able to save for their money in the long term, which for some sort of particular factor that could be like a tax break in terms of what they're doing. But oh wait, hold on. All right, I'm back. So yeah, like to a certain degree, it can very well be a means where corporations are trying to get as much money to be saved as much as possible, and they're trying to be like how should you say, they're trying to be scandalous and very greedy about how much that they can keep, and I don't blame that particular mindset because the world's richest billionaires and other people that want to get up to that level, it's a very hard market to stay in. But when you're a big corporation and you got the pockets of government funding you with subsidies that give you the like ability to go out of your way to sell products at a very cheaper price, that's what incentivizes businesses to go out of their way underpaying workers in a market in which the workers should be getting more pay for their labor, but there should be the least amount of workers to run that organization. But no, it's not like that. So big businesses go out of their way hiring more people for the least like amount of pay, and then that least pay ends up disincentivizing the working class for people that want to expand their skills and get to where they need to be successful. So yeah, I mean, like until that cycle breaks where the corporatist collective chain gets particularly like eliminated, then I think later on throughout the future that will be I should say that will be like a lot better. So yeah, that's pretty much it. um Hope you guys enjoyed my little TED talk, and let me know what y'all think, and I will see you guys later. And yeah, peace. And I will catch you guys later. All right. Peace. Peace out. I'll see you guys.